Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and the beam weapon rework is finally here, and oh my, it's really good, which makes me very happy because beam weapons are some of the most fun and unique weapons in the entire game. Now this is really more of a rework than a balancing pass like it was with the other weapons, because they really did change them quite a bit. The biggest changes here are that all beam weapons now start at 10% of their damage and ramp up to 100% of their damage after 0.8 seconds, and all the beam weapons now use a standard status calculation, so instead of calculating how many procs you're gonna get per second while continuously firing the weapon, status now affects every single damage take, which makes it not only viable but super strong in some cases, because all of the beam weapons have very high fire rate, so they can proc status insanely fast. Now what we're gonna do today is take all the beam weapons into the simulacrum and test them versus some of the tougher enemies from each faction at level 100, so you can see how they perform at what the vast majority of player base, including myself, considers to be top end. And an important thing to note here is that I'm not going to be swapping my elemental combos around, so for the vast majority of the cases you're gonna see the performance of corrosive and heat or corrosive and cold. So let's get started, shall we? So in at number 1 we have the Flux rifle, which now does 22 physical damage, 22% out of which is puncture and 78% is slash. It now has a fire rate of 12, 24% status chance, 10% crit chance, and it uses a battery magazine system. This is the same as the Cyclone, so it only has 50 rounds in the mag, and once you deplete them it will take 1 second before it starts recharging, and it takes a little bit over 1 second to fully charge. Then they also increased the range from 25 meters up to 30 meters. They gave it a 0.5 meters of innate punch through. It has a 0.5 ammo requirement, which makes it drain ammo really slowly, and they reduced the aimed zoom level from 2.23 to 1.8. Now the battery magazine system is actually really good here. It's not like the Cyclone when it was first introduced. It charges super fast. But the biggest change and buff here is that the weapon no longer uses status per second. I mean, you can see the insane amount of status procs flying out of the enemies. It's just crazy. Another cool thing about the Flux rifle is that you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to the build. You can either go for a full-on status build like I did over here, you can go for a hybrid build, or you can go for a full-on damage build with some crit and flux overdrive. It is really nice. I would definitely recommend you pick this weapon up. In at number 2 we have the standard Ignis, and right off the bat I'm gonna say that this is a status setup with combustion beam, so it's designed more for clearing large groups of enemies rather than doing good single target damage. If you go for a full-on single target build, it's gonna perform far better than this. So the Ignis now has a mastery rank requirement of 5, it does 33 heat damage per tick, and it has a fire rate of 8. It has 27% status chance, 11% crit chance, 150 rounds in the mag, and 900 rounds in total. Now the beam still has a 20 meter range that has not changed, but the thickness did change quite a bit. The beam is now a cone, so it expands as it goes out. It is fairly thin at the barrel at only 0.15 meters, and it gets much thicker towards the end where it is at 3 meters. And they've also changed the way it punches through stuff, so it will still punch through enemies and boxes and some pillars as well, but it will no longer punch through level geometry. You have to use punch through to do that. And finally, the aim down sight zoom has once again been reduced from 2.23 to 1.2. And as I've said, the build I'm using here is a status build with combustion beam for more clear speed, but if you want to go for a hybrid you can do that. You just replace prime shred with point strike and combustion beam with vital sense. Then at number 3 we have the standard version of the Quanta, and this is the only weapon that I don't have a full build on, which is why we are fighting level 50 enemies. And the reason for this is that I got this one after the Vandal version, and I already have a full build on the Vandal version, so I couldn't really justify putting Forma on this. But anyway, the primary fire now does 20 electric damage with each tick. It has a fire rate of 12, status chance of 16, 16% crit chance, and a 2.2 times crit multiplier. It has 60 rounds in the mag with 600 rounds in total, a 50 meter range on the primary beam fire, which is unchanged, and the secondary fire now has an explosion radius of 6 meters and does 600 damage per cube. And as I've said already, I do not have a full build on this, but the fact that it's still performing pretty well with 2 missing mods even versus level 50 enemies means that it's gonna be just fine with a full build. Also, if you do want to finish a build on this, I would recommend the same build I'm using on my Vandal version of the Quanta, which is a hybrid build that performs really well. Then at number 4 we have the Glaxian, which used to be top-notch garbage, but it's actually pretty good right now. It now has a mastery rank requirement of 8, it does 26 cold damage per tick, it has a fire rate of 12, 34% status chance, 8% crit chance, and a reload time of 2.2 seconds. It has 80 rounds in the mag with 800 rounds in total, a 24 meter range on the beam, which is still the same. Once again, then we have the 0.5 ammo requirement once again, which makes it more efficient, and the aim zoom level has been changed from 2.23 times to 1.8. And the biggest change and buff here once again is the change from status per second to regular status because, well, just look at the status procs. That is a lot of status. Now for this one, I went for the Vigilante Hybrid build where you go for 2 or 3 dual stat mods, Point Strike or Vital Sense as well, and then 2 Vigilante mods which will give you some fire rate in the case of Fervor, and some multi-shot in the case of armaments, but also a 10% chance to overload your crit from a yellow one to an orange one. I've tried a bunch of different builds and this one seems to be performing the best overall. Though if you want to, you can just go for a pure status build where you replace Vigilante Fervor with heavy caliber, Vigilante armaments with some extra fire rate, and you can replace Point Strike with something like Combustion Beam if you want some extra boom in your Glaxion. Then at number 5 we have the Ignis Wraith, and oh my goodness, this is not a bit of a beast, so it has a mastery rank requirement of 9 and it does 35 heat damage with each tick. It now has a fire rate of 8, 29% status chance, 17% crit chance, and a 2.5 times crit multiplier. It has 200 rounds in the mag with 1000 rounds in total, and they increase the range from 20 meters to 27 meters. They changed the way it punches through level geometry, they changed the beam into a cone that starts off at 0.15 meters at the barrel and expands up to 3 meters at the end, and finally they've changed the aim down sight zoom level from 2.23 times to 1.2 times. And for the Wraith version of the Ignis, I personally went for a hybrid build where you go for Serration, Split Chamber and Heavy Caliber for big damage, then Point Strike and Vital Sense for crit, 2 dual stat mods of your choice, and then a fire rate mod for faster tick rate. And I went for Vigilante Fervor for once again the 5% chance to overload a crit from a yellow one to an orange one. Then at number 6 we have the Convectrix, which is now a mastery rank 7 weapon and it does 24 physical damage. It is a fire rate of 12, 24% status chance, 18% crit chance, and a 2.2 times crit multiplier. And when it comes to the damage distribution, it's 2.4 as impact, 2.4 as puncture, and 19.2 as slash. Then they've increased the range of the weapon from 25 meters up to 30. It is a 70 round magazine with 770 rounds in total, once again the 0.5 ammo requirement, and finally they reduced the zoom level from 2.23 times to 1.4 times. And the biggest change and buff once again is the fact that it's no longer using status per second. And for this one I went for a straight up hybrid build with Vigilante armaments, even though the crit chance isn't that great, and that's because this is a shotgun, so it has access to primed ravage for a 5 times crit multiplier, which is really good. Then at number 7 we have the Panthera, where they changed the secondary fire. The primary fire remained unchanged. So it now does 100 physical damage per tick, 10 is impact, 10 is puncture, and 80 is slash. It has a fire rate of 2 and they've increased the range from 5 meters up to 6 meters. Also, it now drains ammo whenever you hit, well, anything in the game, and that's not intentional, so that's gonna get fixed. Also, a very big change once again is the fact that it's no longer using status per second, which is why I decided to go for a hybrid viral build with Combustion Beam. This is really strong because you're gonna get crit slash procs from Point Strike and Vital Sense, and you're gonna get viral, which is gonna increase the effectiveness of those slash procs. And then, just for a little bit of fun, they will explode when they die because of Combustion Beam. It's actually not just for fun, it's really good for low level missions because Combustion Beam does 600 damage per explosion. Now at number 8 we have the Synapse, which now has a mastery rank requirement of 11 and it does 18 corrosive damage with each tick. It now has a fire rate of 12, 13% status chance, 39% crit chance, and a 2.7 times crit multiplier. Then they've increased the range of the beam from 18 to 20 meters. It has 70 rounds in the magazine, 630 rounds in total. Then we once again have the 0.5 ammo requirement, so it's more efficient. It does 20% additional damage on headshots, and they changed the zoom level from 2.23 times to 1.5 times. This weapon is insane now, which is why I'm very happy that I have a big boy 7 Forma build, where I have Serration, Split Chamber and Heavy Caliber for damage, then Point Strike and Vital Sense for crit, then Vigilante Fervor for the extra fire rate for faster tick speed and also a 5% chance to overload the crit into an orange one, and Infected Clip with primed cryo rounds for viral damage, which goes really well with the corrosive damage the weapon comes with. Then at number 9 we have the Amprex, and oh my, this one has got a wee bit of a buff as well, so it now requires mastery rank 10 and it does 24 electric damage with each tick. It It also now has a fire rate of 12, 22% status chance, 32% crit chance, and a 2.2 times crit multiplier. It still has an 18-meter range, it has 100 rounds in the magazine with 800 rounds in total, once again the 0.5 ammo requirement, and finally they also reduced the aim zoom level from 2.23 times to this time 1.4 times. And surprise surprise, the biggest change here is once again the fact that it's no longer using status per second, which is why I'm now using a hybrid build with Serration, Split Chamber and Heavy Caliber for big damage, Point Strike and Vital Sense for crit, and then 3 dual stat mods of your choosing. In at number 10 we have the Quanta Vandal, which now does 26 electric damage with each tick on the primary fire. It has fire rate of 12, 30% status chance, 22% crit chance with a 2.4 times multiplier and a reload time of 1.8 seconds. The range of the primary fire is still 50 meters, it has 80 rounds in the magazine and 640 rounds in total. And just like with the standard Quanta, the explosion radius of the secondary fire has been increased to 6 meters and the damage has been increased to 600 damage per cube. And I do realize that it's getting kind of old, but the status chance, it is so good. You're getting so many status procs with the primary and secondary fire now, it's awesome. And the build, as I have shown you already, is a hybrid build with vigilante armaments and 2 dual stat mods. And finally at number 11 we have the Phage, or the tentacle shotgun, so it now requires mastery rank 11 and it does 30 viral damage with each tick. It also has a fire rate of 12, 31% status chance, 19% crit chance, 90 rounds in the magazine with 810 rounds in total. The beam length has remained unchanged, so it's still 25 meters, it has a 0.5 ammo requirement, and the aim zoom level has been reduced from 2.23 times to 1.7 times. And just like the Convectrix, because this is a shotgun and it has access to primed ravage, I went for a hybrid build with vigilante armaments. And that's it, those are all the changes that were made to primary beam weapon, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video and it was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.